Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Thousand Star Tower, merely a somewhat ordinary merchant in Chu capital, yet today marked its most special day ever. 2 first-rank marquises and 3 guest officials of Primal Chaos Realm were inside Thousand Star Tower. The fate of great Saint Luo He is blurred, and causality is converged. It is very hard to discover much about him, said the old woman next to Marquis Chuji. His rise was abrupt, and even close friends are exceedingly rare. He might be the reincarnation of some old fellow. When we make our move later, we must give it our all. Against any Pinnacle of Primal Chaos Realm cultivator, we cannot afford the slightest carelessness, said the old man with rings of gold on his left arm. The man in blue robes sneered, the Pinnacle of Primal Chaos Realm, already touching the threshold of Godly King. However, this Luo He specializes solely in the cultivation of the physical body, and his moves are rather clumsy, which actually makes him easier to deal with. Like the Origin Tao of Time, Origin Tao of Space, Origin Tao of Causality, and so on. Many Taos, if reached the Pinnacle of Primal Chaos Realm, are very unpredictable, and capturing or killing them is very difficult. Like Luo Feng defeating Marquis Liu Yin before, but he couldn't retain him. And those who specialize solely in the physical body, while indeed tough to annihilate, usually have other aspects that are weaker. No matter what the opponent is like, we must go all out, Marquis Chuji stated. The stronger the physical body, the better, for I can enjoy the battle more, snarled the black-haired, ugly Marquis Chu Yuan. Soon, I'll smash him with thousands of clubs, turn him into a pile of mush. Let's see how strong his physical body is. The other 4 pinnacles of Primal Chaos Realm were already used to Marquis Chu Yuan's temperament. In the imperial clan of Flame Wind Ancient Country, such rampant madness was rare. Yet in Thunder Ancient Country's imperial clan, most of the powerful members were like this, with only a few being calm and rational. Here, the old woman spoke, gazing off into the distance with a somewhat anxious heart. Being a student of the Origin Tao of Causality, she always felt that Luo He's fate was too hazy, she could see too little. Woo! A man in black emerged from the void, his forehead adorned with a cluster of dark golden spikes, his face bearing a hint of chill. As soon as he stepped out, he looked toward Thousand Star Tower, immediately focusing on those 2 first-rank marquises and 3 guest officials. Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chuji, and the 3 guest officials, Luo Feng observed them. You all have statuses, yet you dared to make a move against the eternal true God by my side. Guest official Luo, he has been staying inside his cave mansion, without going out. We merely used a small trick to kindly invite guest official Luo He to meet, Marquis Chuji said smilingly, his voice hearty. Surely, guest official Luo He is also aware of some conflicts we have with Emperor Chu. Since coming to Chu capital, I have been in closed-door cultivation, and am not very clear about the details of the conflicts among the first-rank marquises, Luo Feng spoke. Marquis Chuji and the others were somewhat surprised. As a guest elder invited by Emperor Chu, he does not know about Emperor Chu's conflicts with them. Well, it doesn't matter if you don't know, Marquis Chuji continued, we give you 2 options. 1. Distance yourself from Emperor Chu and no longer assist him. 2. Continue to help Emperor Chu and be our enemy. 2 paths, you choose one. Choosing a guest elder needs to be done carefully. Emperor Chu was initially worried about encountering an ingrate and preferred to select someone trustworthy and with great potential for gradual cultivation. The first time Emperor Chu invited Luo Feng, he thought Luo Feng was an eternal true god of unlimited godly bodies and hoped to support each other for mutual growth. Emperor Chu was prepared for an early period of restraint. Only later, Luo Feng's strength was unexpectedly strong. Choose between 2 paths. Luo Feng looked at them with a smile that was not quite a smile. You think you are fit to make me choose? Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chuji, and the 3 guest officials suddenly changed color. We fit to. Marquis Chuji's eyes flashed with anger, and the inherently hot-tempered Marquis Chu Yuan's body surged with thunder. HMPH. The blue-robed man coldly huffed. An illusionary avatar of the primordial ancestor, who had been bound and unable to move aside, instantly vanished, and the sky around Thousand Star Tower grew dark. The old woman glanced at Luo Feng. A silent spiritual attack enveloped Luo Feng, obscuring his mind, blurring his perceptions. But Luo Feng, who had reached the second realm of Godly King in terms of spiritual will and possessed the Lai Yuan technique, was not bothered by this confusion at all. Causality obscuring. Luo Feng detected the opponent's move. The opponent's spiritual will level was just entering the threshold of Godly King, but this spiritual attack aimed to blur all his perceptions. This must be Zun guest official by Marquis Chu Ji's side, adept at the law of causality, and the origin Tao of causality, is indeed mysterious and unpredictable. The old man with rings of gold on his left arm stared at Luo Feng, the circles of gold on his left arm vanishing into thin air. 5 illusionary rings of gold appeared out of nowhere, encircling Luo Feng, and instantly tightening, the 5 rings binding Luo Feng's body, containing powers of seal, bind, strangle, and suppress. Luo, he didn't avoid my golden bands, the old man sneered upon seeing this. His true body is definitely doomed. Seeing the 5 golden bands trap Luo Feng, the blue-robed man revealed a smile, and the entire area faintly manifested a grand array. As the array operated, countless chains of heaven and earth enveloped Luo Feng. Marquis Chu Ji showed a slight smile, victorious. The moment Luo he was trapped by the golden bands, the outcome was already determined. Is this your capability? Luo Feng's voice suddenly rang out, his body slightly exerting force. All the basic components of his 5 types of transformation methods had already transformed into yin-yang particle form, his power tremendously increasing. Luo Feng's 5 transformation methods, 4 of which are for close combat. Using the Galaxy transformation method, Luo Feng could now simultaneously execute 23,000 blade lights during the use of the blade technique of Primal Chaos Realm. In close combat, which merely bursts forth immense power and puts little strain on the spiritual will, Luo Feng was able to unleash over 10 billion units of power through the transformation method, reaching an unimaginably powerful level. Boom, 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 boom. With a single exertion, all 5 golden hoops shattered. Every heavenly chain that touched the surface of Luo Feng's clothing naturally disintegrated upon contact. This scene shocked both the first-class Marquis and the 3 guest officials of the Primal Chaos Realm. My 5 golden hoops shattered. The elderly man couldn't believe what he saw. These are weapon secret treasures, and they are broken. He could accept the golden hoops being stretched out, but shattering instantaneously. When the chains formed by the heaven and earth array touched Luo Feng's clothing, they disintegrated naturally. He could distinctly sense the incredible power that was encountered at the moment his controlled chains touched Luo Feng's clothing. Upon contact, they were annihilated. Escape quickly. He is not just at the pinnacle of the Primal Chaos Realm, he has transcended it. The man in the green robe transmitted a message while trying to flee simultaneously. Rumble tilde. Centered around the Thousand Star Tower, endless silver light emerged, enveloping and forming a colossal silver cage that now completely enclosed the entire Thousand Star Tower. Thinking of leaving, Luo Feng took a step forward, his figure traversing through the void, already appearing beside the man in the green robe. His 5 fingers grasped the man's body, and instantly the area surrounding them within several meters turned into chaos. All layers of space disintegrated, and a terrifying force assaulted the walls of the world. Under this strike, the body of the great saint of heaven was utterly wiped out, without even a shred of capability to struggle. First, the 5 golden hoops were crushed, and the heavenly chains disintegrated, followed by the inability of the great saint of heaven to withstand even one strike. This heavily shocked Marquis Chu Ji and the others. Although the divine body of the great saint was not exceptionally powerful, as a cultivator of the origin Tao of the world, his strength was considered comparable to that of Marquis Liu Yin, and his life-preserving capabilities were strong. Yet, he was extremely vulnerable in front of Luo Feng. Boom. Boom. Sir, the novel.ia.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Luo Feng's arms suddenly swelled enormously, resembling pillars of the heavens. His hands simultaneously reached out toward the elderly man and the woman. Luo Feng naturally had detailed intelligence on both the first-class marquis and the 3 guest officials of the primal chaos realm. In fact, the 3 guest officials had the strongest ability to escape. Thus, Luo Feng dealt with the great saint of heaven, who controlled the heavens and earth first, then the other 2 guest officials. As for Marquis Chu Ji and Marquis Chu Yuan, while strong, they were weaker in terms of escape. Buzz. The palm of Luo Feng's hands, traversing through the void, appeared out of nowhere close to the 2 guest officials of the primal chaos realm. Marquis, let's go. The old woman grabbed Marquis Chu Ji, and in an instant, she disappeared without a trace. The body of the elderly man dispersed, avoiding Luo Feng's grasp. When his body reappeared from afar, he angrily looked towards the silver cage. This cage has cut off the void, separating the inside from the outside world. Luo Feng's silver light cage had cut through every layer of space, preserving only the walls of the world. Phew. The woman, having escaped with Marquis Chu Ji to a distant point above the Marquis mansion, finally looked back with assurance towards the direction of the 1,000-star tower. Marquis, I can only barely take 1 life from the primal chaos realm with me using the causality escape technique, the woman said. I could only bring the Marquis out. The causality escape technique, where one merges with the threads of causality to flee, is a powerful escape method that the woman developed from her study of the origin Tao of causality, based on the heritage she got from the flame-wind ancient country. This method of escape, carrying a life form along, significantly increases in difficulty. I owe it to Guest Elder Zun. Without Guest Elder Zun, I could not have escaped. Marquis Chu Ji anxiously looked towards the distance. His gaze penetrated the spatial barriers to view the silver cage. That cage can isolate the inside from the outside, making escape very difficult. Guest Elder Zun, is there a way to save Marquis Chu Yuan and the others? Marquis Chu Ji asked. There's no way. The woman shook her head. Not only are Luo his moves extremely fast, but he can also traverse through the void even under the control of the great saint of heaven. If I were to use the causality escape technique to sneak in, the moment I materialize, I would probably be hit. My godly body is not even as strong as that of Brother Luo He. Once hit, this true body would surely die. He must be a transcendence of the primal chaos realm, who specializes in physical strength, capable of competing with godly kings with his physical body alone. He's not someone we can contend with, the woman added, somewhat frightened. Marquis Chu Ji grimaced. I didn't expect that this time, only the 2 of us would escape. As a first-class marquis, Emperor Chu Yu received the news about the battle at the 1,000-star tower immediately, being very well informed within the Chu capital. What, Marquis Chu Yuan and Marquis Chu Ji, 5 of them against Brother Luo He? Emperor Chu Yu became anxious. Didn't I warn Brother Luo He to be careful? How could he still have been ambushed? Emperor Chu Yu was filled with anxiety, instantly arriving above the Marquis mansion, his gaze stretching towards the direction of 1,000-star tower as described in the reports. His eyes pierced through the spatial obstacles, and he saw a silver cage enveloping the 1,000-star tower from afar. 1,000-star tower is sealed by a silver light cage, this silver light cage. Emperor Chu Yu suddenly paused, clearly remembering the scene when Luo Feng unleashed the mighty galaxy, with its blade light tearing through the sky in Huyang City. This silver light, could it be Brother Luo He's method? Marquis Chu Yuan and the other 4 set out against Brother Luo He, yet instead of fleeing, Brother Luo He counteracted with the silver light cage, sealing the entire battlefield. Emperor Chu Yu sensed something was amiss. But now that the silver light cage had sealed the area, it was difficult for the outside world to pry into, and at this point, the likes of Marquis Chu Ji, who had suffered a great loss, weren't about to voluntarily disclose any information. At this moment, all significant powers in Chu capital had received the news that Marquis Chu Yuan, Marquis Chu Ji, and 3 guest elders were confronting guest official Luo He, yet the details of the battle were still unclear to many. That madman, Marquis Chu Yuan, really made his move. To Emperor Chu Yu, Luo He is just one guest official, right? If Luo He were obliterated and lost his weapon's secret treasures, I'm afraid his strength might be greatly reduced. The other first-class marquises were quite patient, waiting for the outcome of this conflict. Common sense would dictate that the guest official Luo He, facing 5 opponents, is unlikely to end well. In Chu capital, within the quiet room of Great Saint Qianyu's cave mansion, where he cultivated, suddenly, a brick on the floor transformed into a silhouette, the figure of the green-robed Great Saint Qianyu. Rumble. Cosmic primal chaos, divine power surged into the miniature universe, gradually restoring the physical body of Great Saint Qianyu. "My true body has been destroyed," said the Great Saint with a grim expression. As a pinnacle expert of the primal chaos realm, the weapon's secret treasures he cared about most were those he carried on his person, as only then could he unleash his full strength. Only some resources and treasures were temporarily stored in his cave mansion. Fortunately, as a guest elder, the merit points I accumulated were all exchanged for inheritances and resources, which I used on my person, thought the Great Saint Qianyu. Most of the resources accumulated by such strong individuals were dedicated to cultivation. This enabled them to obtain more powerful inheritances, and cultivate to higher realms with stronger secret techniques. Even if their true bodies died and were resurrected, their realm and secret techniques would not be lost. My 3 formation diagrams, valued at 30 billion cosmic sand, are all gone. The Great Saint took the loss of the 3 formation diagrams to heart. With the diagrams, I could control the heaven and earth array, and my strength was double what it is now. But my formation against Luo He was nothing but a joke. In fact, that formation did have some influence on Luo Feng, which is why Luo Feng targeted the Great Saint first. This time, having provoked someone who has transcended the primal chaos realm, the matter may not be so easily resolved. The weakened Great Saint Qianyu also arrived above the cave mansion, looking towards the direction of Thousand Star Tower, and seeing that sealed silver light cage. Like the 3rd-generation ancestor from the lineage of Duan Dong River, who created his own secret technique, which included the Undying River method. And most of the inheritances, created by individuals in the first realm of Godly King level wouldn't even make it into the Flame Wind Ancient Country's treasury. The inheritances in the treasury of the Flame Wind Ancient Country mostly have significant origins, which naturally include numerous life-saving methods. Luo Feng, who practiced the 8 tribulations life form, from the first calamity, merged 3 of the major branches of the Great Tao of Life origin, also possessing many life-saving techniques. Although Luo Feng's contemplation time was short, he naturally learned 2 life-saving techniques. Of course, with Luo Feng's perfect divine body cultivating the transformation method, to force Luo Feng to use a life-saving technique would be extremely difficult. ******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************* cage sealed the entire area of the Thousand-Star Tower, cutting through space and separating the inside from the outside. The merchants, attendants, and guests inside the Thousand-Star Tower were all terrified. Although the Thousand-Star Tower had activated its formations to protect each building, the tower's formations had no right to tap into any of the power of true capital. Hence, any Pinnacle Primal Chaos Realm expert could destroy the Thousand-Star Tower if they fully unleashed their abilities. Why did the conflict between first-class marquises break out in our Thousand-Star Tower? May it not involve us. They were all nervous, fearing their lives would be jeopardized. Suddenly, a grand voice echoed, "It was foolish of us, having offended guest official Luo He. I beg guest official Luo He to spare me, to let this true body go. I am willing to offer 10 billion cosmic sand as compensation." The figure of the old man with the golden hoop dissipated, invisible and intangible, but his voice resounded. "The infinite body is indeed somewhat interesting," Luo Feng commented. The old man with the golden hoop cultivated the origin Tao of the infinite. His golden hoop that entrapped enemies was formidable, and his body, the infinite body, had strong evasion capabilities. Among his peers, the old man with the golden hoop was even more fearsome than Marquis Liu Yin. But the old man had encountered Luo Feng. Although Luo Feng's realm was somewhat inferior, he relied on the terror of his physical body to break laws with force. Now, Luo Feng's silver light cage cut through every layer of space, leaving only the world's membrane wall. At the level of the primal chaos realm, there were very few methods to escape. Causal escape was one, as Luo Feng couldn't intercept causality. But the old man's infinite body could not escape. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. Suddenly, silver light enveloped the entire 1,000-star tower, and in an instant, everything was gathered within the star tower. Luo Feng had no desire to involve the pitiful cultivators inside the 1,000-star tower. Guest official Luo He, the voice of the old man with the golden hoop echoed in the air, attempting to continue his persuasion. All of you took action against me, and now with just 10 billion cosmic sand, you want to save your true body. Luo Feng scoffed. Boom, boom, boom. Dense blade light of countless galaxies appeared, 20,000 blade lights of galaxy, each containing the mood of splitting the heavens. These blade lights did not discriminate between friend and foe, attacking all parts of the silver light cage simultaneously, leaving no dead angles. These 20,000 blade lights formed the most basic yin-yang particle state, with their power multiplied several times over. Coupled with the increased number of galaxy blade lights Luo Feng controlled, one could only imagine the extent of their power. No, the golden-hooped elder with the infinite body was somewhat desperate, as the overwhelming power covered every spot, even encompassing Luo Feng himself, leaving the golden-hooped elder with no avenue of escape. At this moment, every part of the silver cage was under attack, with annihilation occurring everywhere. Under the form of boundlessness, every bit of divine power from the golden-hooped elder was also annihilated, leaving behind only the most tenacious of the weapon's secret treasures. Luo Feng stood in the void, and although the blade light covered him as well, it didn't harm even a single hair on his head, as if a gentle breeze brushed his face. Another one resolved. Luo Feng put away the weapon's secret treasures left by the golden-hooped elder, and looked towards Marquis Chu Yuan. Originally ferocious and frenzied, Marquis Chu Yuan, incredibly, did not make a move throughout. By this point, his black hair had been nearly obliterated by the endless blade light, revealing his tough black skin underneath. You are stronger than me, Marquis Chu Yuan, staring at Luo Feng, said in a deep voice, I admit defeat. Luo Feng smiled, looking at Marquis Chu Yuan, I must say, I'm starting to see you in a new light. Everyone says Marquis Chu Yuan is fierce and reckless, without restraint. But in my presence, aren't you quite docile and also understand the concept of defeat? Marquis Chu Yuan's eyes flickered with lightning, as rage ceaselessly scorched his soul. But the hardships he had endured from childhood had taught him that when one is weak, one must bow down. How can I secure my release? Marquis Chu Yuan asked, You set the terms. You've already targeted my friends and family, and you still think you can escape this calamity. Luo Feng looked at him, You did the deed, you must pay the price. As he spoke, Luo Feng's arm swelled up in an instant, reaching towards Marquis Chu Yuan. Then come on. With no way to escape or dodge, Marquis Chu Yuan no longer contained the fury that twisted his soul. In a flash, his entire body bathed in lightning, his eyes filled with it too, and he swung a black staff down. Bang! Luo Feng's enormous palm blocked the black staff. At the same time, countless black liquids flowed across the surface of his palm, enveloping the staff and quickly spreading toward Marquis Chu Yuan. Whoosh! Unable to pull the staff free, Marquis Chu Yuan immediately let go and retreated explosively. My full-powered strike didn't harm him in the slightest, and my staff was taken instead. Marquis Chu Yuan perceived the immense gap more clearly. Escape! Luo Feng watched the figure transformed into lightning and fleeing, shaking his head slightly. Innumerable black liquids surged from his body, and although the Black Abyss transformation method wasn't as fast or sharp as the Galaxy transformation method, it was superior in terms of binding and entangling. Countless black liquids instantly spread throughout the silver cage, engulfing everything in their path, leaving no room for escape, however swift one's movement might be. In his frenzy, Marquis Chu Yuan was completely submerged by the black liquid, trapped and enshrouded. Whoosh! Luo Feng looked at the bound Marquis Chu Yuan. Split. With a single thought, billions of units of the Black Abyss transformation method simultaneously exerted force, causing Marquis Chu Yuan's body to stretch and enlarge, yet remain unharmed. So tenacious. Luo Feng was surprised. Then he reached out his hand, and the 4 types of transformation methods attached to his body erupted simultaneously, with hundreds of billions of units of transformation law unleashing their power. Luo Feng's palm, carrying a world-shattering terrifying force, smacked down on the bound body of Marquis Chu Yuan. Crack! Marquis Chu Yuan got smashed into dozens of pieces of lightning flesh. S-Tilda-EA the novel-IA.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. The dozens of pieces of lightning flesh remained incredibly tough, filled with endless vitality. Although shattered, the divine power has hardly depleted. Luo Feng was astonished. I'd heard that those at the pinnacle of primal chaos realm, who focus solely on physical cultivation, would have unbelievably tough bodies, which even ordinary godly kings would have to whittle down over time. Luo Feng pondered for a moment and then made another move. One palm strike after another, in almost the blink of an eye, Luo Feng delivered thousands of consecutive blows. Each strike unleashed his full power, with the combined might of hundreds of billions of transformation law units. This continuous assault pulverized the pieces of lightning flesh even more until they turned into strands of lightning liquid. From solid to liquid state. The myriad parts of lightning liquid still tried to fuse and gather together. I've beaten him into a pulp, into a liquid, and the depleted power is so minimal. It's even recovering. Luo Feng was rather speechless, as Marquis Chu Yuan consistently had the support of minor universe divine power. A small loss followed by quick recovery. No wonder he's considered a likely candidate for transcendence of primal chaos realm. Luo Feng was also somewhat troubled. Marquis Chu Yuan was virtually unkillable. Well, at least take his weapon. Although Luo Feng had obtained the weapon's secret treasures left by 3 Pinnacle Primal Chaos Realm beings, the most precious was still Marquis Chu Yuan's staff. It's indeed a godly king-level weapon, befitting of a first-rate marquis. Throughout Chu Capital, only 3 beings could see the battle inside the silver light cage, watching as Luo Feng swung his arm thousands of times, brutally pounding Marquis Chu Yuan into a pulp, into a liquid state. Chu Yuan, this kid, has cultivated the primordial bloodline inheritance of the 8 techniques of Thunderbolt, and is just one step away from the Thunder Beast juvenile body. So one can only imagine how tough his body is. Yet is reduced to liquid by this Luo he. A female voice sounded somewhat astonished. This Luo, his physical cultivation is very strong, almost 1 to 2% as strong as mine, said a rough voice with a hint of admiration, but is too rough in other aspects. He would suffer against a godly king. At this moment, the emperor observed Luo Feng with keen interest as well. For them, the addition of one more being who might transcend the primal chaos realm was a happy occasion for the entire lineage of Emperor Chu. This video will end here.